Hey, thanks for watching today. This is your December issue of Over-the-Counter Tax Investing News. This means we're going to really not talk about auctions. We're going to take a minute and just talk about what you can buy from the leftovers from auctions. Sometimes that's a quick process. Sometimes there's hoops to jump through, so we're going to tell you about that. We'll tell you the pros and cons of these markets. We have a new market to talk about, a new state. We have some new inventories in the states we've already covered. So just thousands of new properties to talk to you about and different ways to buy. And so, like I'd like to do in this video is I always want to make sure that you're set up to win. So what I'm going to do is start by talking about how over-the-counters really work and the misconceptions about over-the-counters. I know this is in all the OTC videos, so I'll do it quickly, but please, this is a good refresher for you. It won't take just a few minutes. So the first misconception is that all tax auction leftovers become available for purchase over the counter. We get this question a lot. People say, where are your New Jersey OTCs? And we say there is no such thing. Okay. There's a lot of states where there is no such thing because many of the tax investing markets with large auction inventories, they still don't have a mechanism for selling over the counter. Okay. So that means that they don't sell their leftovers over the counter because what they do, those states and counties will try to sell their leftovers through later auctions. And I just mentioned New Jersey. Indiana is a great example, two very large tax investing markets, and they do not have over the counters in either one. A few states do sell their leftovers eventually through like land banks or other programs like land banks. Buy Baltimore is an example, just different ways. It can be sometimes years after the auction's complete. But when we talk about land banks, we're going to mention, Georgia and Tennessee are great examples where some select counties in those states sell over the counter using their land banks. And the reason is it's, they have the leftovers come through. Not every county has enough leftovers to worry about, so they'll reissue them in a later auction. But these states have enough, and these particular counties have enough, where they do that. All right, only junk properties are left over from auctions and become available over the counter. Another misconception. Of course, there's some junk, but there's plenty of things that are not junk that are sold over the counter. And the reason is many large auctions, they just don't have enough bidders to buy everything that goes up for sale. I've been to these auctions. I've been to some of them in person. I've seen them online. And ultimately, it's kind of an interesting opportunity when you get to the end of the auction and realize, a deed with no redemption on it, that someone could basically buy the house and a valuable property right there. And because it was maybe at the end of the auction and all the bidders were done with their budgets, nobody bought it. So they do happen. They do exist. I would urge you to, think about it this way. When a auction releases, if it's tax liens, in a lot of these places we see 70, 80%, sometimes up to 90% will have structures on them with good value on them. But when you're talking about over-the-counter inventories, it's kind of the flip of that. You'll typically see less than a third, less than a quarter actually have structures on them. So, that's kind of your selection process when you're looking at over-the-counters. If you're a land purchaser and you don't want structures, over-the-counters might be where you can do most of your shopping. But, plenty of things that are not junk and do have value make it to the leftovers out of an auction. And another reason this can happen is sometimes auction advertisements where they put the nice little list out there. They sometimes they're nice on a website. Sometimes they literally write them on a napkin and take a picture of it. So you just don't know what the advertisement's going to have on it. And it could be obscure. It could be cryptic. It could be not well publicized. It could be buried in a newspaper and not even digitized. So that's, something we do a lot of on our auction front is we do a lot of digging to find those. But a lot of times the properties get left over in those auctions just because investors couldn't find it or didn't grasp what was for sale. And so, in that kind of situation, you do end up with leftovers that normally would not have been left over. Okay, so here's three fast misconceptions. One misconception is people that think that purchasing tax property over the counter is easier than buying at auction. You might say, hey, I didn't have to register for the auction. I don't have to go to the auction or get online or bid. It's just going to be easier. Well, not true. Each process is different. Some of these application processes can be complicated, and some of the over-the-counter processes even require you to register as a bidder anyways. So you don't skip registering as a bidder to buy, where you would at an auction. Sometimes you still have to register as a bidder just to buy over the counter. So you're not really cutting a lot of corners going over the counter. The second one here is purchasing tax property over the counter is faster than buying at auction. It can be quick. It can also take weeks or longer, months sometimes. If you've been waiting in line in Alabama for that beautiful house that's turnkey rental property ready to go, you know what I'm talking about. Uh, on that same note, in Alabama, sometimes you can buy same day if you know what you're doing. We cover that. We covered Mobile County this summer, was a great example. A lot of you really cashed in on that over the counter opportunity. We got you the video before they released it. Then the list came out, and you were able to call and buy over the phone. So those opportunities do exist, and don't just write a whole state off because you think it's slow when you haven't looked at all the numerous ways to buy there. We try to help you with that if you watch our videos frequently. The last misconception here is going to be purchasing tax property over the counter is cheaper than buying at auction. Hey, you know what? Like, no one's bidding it up, right? So it's going to be cheaper. Well, since they continue to accrue unpaid taxes and interest and fees, these properties are actually going to still keep going up in price. And just think back to if you had only gone to the auction and you would have been the only person possibly bidding on that property because it was a leftover. Well, you could have bought it at literally face value of the deed or the lien and not had the continued accrual of taxes, interest, and fees. So, it's sort of, you're not going to get it cheaper. You might get it at a similar price, or you might get it for a lot more. If something has sat in over the counter for years, it's just snowballing taxes onto it. So let's give you some general guidance because this is when you're looking for deals in tax investing markets that you're not familiar with. Don't presume anything. Do not go into it and say, "Hey, you know what? I've bought, let's say, Florida tax liens. Therefore, I know everything about Mississippi tax liens." It's just there are no apples to apples markets. There's always a nuance. There's always a difference. You just have to find what it is. Again, we'll help you do that, but don't just assume that you can transition markets and because it's a deed, or a lien, it's a lien. These, I guess you call them assets, they really have different characteristics you need to understand, not just redemption interest rate, but how to buy them. What are the rules for redemption, the rules for uh, possession, ejectment, things like that, if you're or foreclosure or quiet title. So when you get into that, you do need to dig into a market deep enough to know the ins and outs. Again, every state's going to vary. Even the competition can vary depending on where you're shopping. So really just all in all, just OTCs are a totally valid way to buy tax properties, but don't presume that buying it is cheaper, faster, or even the preferred way to buy in every state. Some states it is the best way, some states it is not. So I think it might be on a, well, actually, there's one more point on my slide here. So instead of all that negative stuff I said, why don't you focus on learning how the state works and keep an open mind about the best way to buy? If you hit a state and you hit headwinds there and say, oh my gosh, I looked at Colorado and the tax liens are, you can't own the property by foreclosing on the tax lien there. I'm just going to not shop there. Well, why don't you pivot and look at the deed auctions, the foreclosures, the over the counters, things like that, where you can actually alternatives to buying just tax liens at their interest rate. So just a note of encouragement. That was kind of a negative slide, so I wanted to encourage you that you can focus on the right things in a state and find other ways to buy. So this video, we're going to cover some of that. Before we do that, let's talk about how many tax auction properties are actually left over and available over the counter. Not just leftover rolling to the next auction, but leftovers that make it to the over the counter rolls. And I think of it like a funnel. So we're looking at last year's numbers. This will be the last time we do that because the next time I make this video, we'll have complete 2025 numbers to share with you. So the 2024 listings, 1.16 million roughly go to auction on our site that we tracked, and a bunch of them are unsold. 155,711 rolled from the 1.1 whatever million down to the OTC rolls, which means about 1 million of them either sold or they just did not make it to OTCs. It could be they sold, or it could be that the county had to roll it to the next auction. So when you're thinking about this, early in the video I said you're talking about a fraction of the market. OTCs on our 2024 numbers make up about 13.3% of what was totally available on our site that we found in 2024. Now, the 2025 numbers will be here soon, and it'll be much bigger than last year because we're in every state now. Last year, we were in like 36 states, or 32 states, I can't remember. So yes, the 2025 numbers will be much more impressive. On that note, let's do a breakdown of where are the over-the-counter properties. We're always tracking the largest markets, and I kept a couple on here at the bottom, even though they have zero, because we're going to talk about those two. There's something for you to look forward to in West Virginia and DC, but we'll talk about that later. So sitting at the top, as usual, is Arizona at 32,000 OTC. Those are going to be liens and deeds. They do have both, mostly liens though. Alabama is sitting pretty tight there with 18,000. When we started this site, they were around 40,000, so they've dwindled quite a bit, but they're holding steady there. Florida, 13,597. One thing to note about these states like Florida, where a lot of those are going to be tax liens, is that I'm showing you the property count right now, not the lien count. Subtle difference, but in Florida, in reality, there's like between 40 and 60,000 liens available over the counter, but a property can have two, three, seven, 10 liens on it. And if 10 liens are for sale on a property in Florida over the counter, we're just going to count that property once for the purposes of this slide to give you just Florida would just fall right off the map and be this the by far and away the largest state here. And I really just would rather go by property count because that's how you're going to think about it. You're not really thinking about how many liens I'm buying as much as uh, how many properties to kind of look at. So just moving down, I mean, Mississippi 7,000 is pretty big. It's a great inventory. We're going to talk about in depth here in a minute. And you move on down the list, you cut in half at that point. Pennsylvania, Missouri, Michigan, and then down to Arkansas, Tennessee, Maryland. And then you get below the 2,000 mark. Wisconsin has been holding steady for a while. Georgia is the new state we're going to talk about today. We've added Georgia OTCs to the site. It's probably going to be in the title of this video, so that wasn't too much of a reveal there. But yeah, 1,178 Georgia properties we're going to cover today across, I think, 6 land banks that we've added. New York, Colorado, just kind of down the list here. And I'll take this moment right now before we get to the exciting part. For West Virginia and Washington, D.C., West Virginia is going to have some big news in January. They're going to do another wave of over the counter sales. And this is going to be a real telling moment for us because we covered on the site, we covered the wave that they ran in October. And the way they did it was they put about 10,000 OTC liens on their site. It was a very difficult site to navigate, very difficult to see what you were looking at. There were no pictures, maps, or anything. So when we put those 10,000 liens on our site, you guys went crazy and bought a bunch of them. It was a sealed bid process, so you just put in enough to hit whatever the minimum bid, maybe a little more, and they left the window open from October 1st through the end of October. So when I say this is going to be a telling moment, is in January when they reissue whatever their bucket of OTC liens are, we're going to be really curious to see, is it the same 10,000 with minus a few? Is it going to be 5,000 and nothing new? Or is it going to be like a new bucket of properties that have recently matured into this? So are we going to find like new OTCs, or is it going to be just, So, anyways, I say that because watch closely when January starts. You will have a month. We will cover this in our January video, of course, but you'll have a month to bid on these properties. And so just kind of put that in your calendar to look out for West Virginia in January. I heard some great things from you guys from the October run. So the rest of you don't want to miss out on that. Washington, D.C., kind of a similar story. They had like 420 OTC liens, and they pulled them for a November auction that we tracked on the site. And it was literally property for property, the exact same 420 properties that had been OTC. So they literally shoved the OTCs into an auction, and now they're going to reopen the OTCs eventually soon. And we would love to see, are they going to be like 410 or 100? How many did they sell at auction, and what's remaining? And there could be new stuff. So I mentioned DC and West Virginia, because I want you to keep those in your head for stuff to look out for coming up. But the rest of this video is going to focus on what you can buy now. So let's cut over to the live demo. We're going to cover property research for over-the-counter properties. We're using Parcel Fair, of course. That's what channel you're watching. It's branded everywhere with the little P in the top corner. And we're going to really just talk about how to work through, starting with Georgia. Okay. So we've covered Georgia auctions for quite a while. What we have not covered are the land banks, and it was kind of a to-do item for us to get to it eventually. And then we monitor these land banks closely to see how many properties are in there. And sometimes these properties will I mean, these land banks will be empty. It is the case on several land banks in Georgia right now, but we do have some that have properties, okay? So there are three land banks in the metro Atlanta area. We have one in Columbus with just a handful of properties here. Richmond County, I believe, is up here in Augusta, Georgia, on the South Carolina border. And then the Savannah area, that's going to be Chatham County. I think it's called the Savannah Land Bank, though. It's not, they usually name land banks after the city. Sometimes it's after the county. It just depends on who started the land bank and who's in charge. So we'll dip into this first. Let's talk about Metro Atlanta. You see a lot of properties here. You have Fulton County on the left. Oops, I didn't mean to click that. Fulton County there. You have Clayton County to the south here. And I believe this is DeKalb. Yeah, DeKalb County. So those three counties, the blue properties are the land bank properties. These orange properties are in the DeKalb auction coming up in January. So we're going to go ahead and hit my search filters. And the first thing I'm going to do is filter in the inventory box to over the counter only. So in doing that, we took out 500 parcels or 400 something parcels from that DeKalb auction and got it down to just the OTCs we care about here. So at this point, let's just start with Clayton because it seems to be the most, I don't know, full land bank. So we'll do Clayton County. In my search filters, I'm going to hit Clayton as the county. And we see 515 properties there. Let's go back to the counter. So yeah, now we've filtered out the state and we're just looking at what's here. So let's go over to satellite view. And I will say, I'll be the first one to tell you, a land bank property, typically speaking, is it's aged out is the best way to say it nicely. A lot of these properties they're left over from auction from years ago. So I'm just kind of tempering expectations here. You should know the area. You should have the ability to go scout the area, whether that's paying somebody or doing it yourself. But the ultimate point is if you're looking at like this 1/3 of an acre of land, we can tell a lot on our site, okay? It's a quiet title, which means you're buying the property. You're not buying a tax deed. You're not buying a tax lien. It's Georgia. They just have deeds and land banks. If we wanted to check out this vacant lot that I just pulled up, let's open panorama view. I don't see any problems here. Neighbor's fence could be on it. But ultimately, what you're focused on is what is the value, okay? The county valuation for this lot is only $8,000, but you really need to know the market to figure out how does land appraise here. And that's something, right now in Parcelville, we do have ARV and appraisals on properties with structures because we have so many data points we can actually calculate like square footage, room count, bedroom count, bath count, multifamily, things like that. But vacant land is a tough one. We're still working on how we want to get some kind of appraisal number we can stand behind. But this $8,000 lot, it may only be valuable to the house next door to it. There could be something in the neighborhood that prevents you from building there. So it may not be a buildable lot. It might just be like, someone's football playground. So just be careful if you buy these because, if you get stuck with a property like this, and of course, you're going to pay whatever the land bank is charging for it, which is $4,000 in this case. You don't want to be stuck with it if there's no value to it. Let's talk about how to buy from this particular land bank. So the big green button here, Buy OTC Clayton County GA Land Bank Authority. Click on that. We are not allowed to link directly to the property. So actually, no, in this case we are. I lied. We are able to link you directly to the property. So in case you missed that, I clicked on this link. The big green button will take you to the exact same place. It's kind of redundant, but we want to make sure you didn't miss it. So this is that 0 Alworth Way Road. And you can literally add to cart and go through a standard sale, $4,000, and hit the apply button. And I'm sure there's steps beyond that, but we're going to basically take you right to the purchase button. And that's as far as we go. We take you to the property, to the purchase button, and the rest of your transaction will be with the Clayton County Land Bank. I guess one other thing to mention, this is not the place to go. Let me see if they, I was trying to see if they have a description of the programs here. They don't have it here, so what you're going to want to do is, of course, anytime you're shopping with a new land bank, you want to understand any rules or limitations they may put on the property. I don't know Clayton's off the top of my head, so familiarize yourself with the land bank you're going to shop from. And I mean, the people that have the best experiences with land banks that I know, they're repeat buyers, which means they build a relationship or get to know the rules and get to know the program, which helps them identify what's best to buy. And here's an example. Let's say if a land bank has a restriction on building on land that you bought for a year or two or whatever, then you probably want to buy property that already has a building on it. And vice versa, if they say uh, maybe there's a limitation about the construction and the permits, you might want to buy vacant land instead. So getting to know the land bank's rules and limitations helps you know which properties to target there. We're going to switch over to DeKalb County, which is also Metro Atlanta, 176 opportunities there. We've filtered out the auction, which had 400 something properties. So let's do one more step here. I'm going to filter by improvements. And this one really shocked me that according to the county assessment, 120 out of the 176 properties in DeKalb had structures on them. So let's take a look at what some of these properties look like. Again, we're kind of in helicopter mode now with a satellite thing turned on, and we filtered by houses. So let's see if we can find something with the structure on it. Okay, this is what I was looking for. So we're looking at a property that the county values at $300,000, and let's see, the comps based on the ARV, we have valued it at 273,000. So that's pretty close. The county is pretty aggressive there with their total value, which can be good. Sometimes counties run much lower, so that's good to see. This is going to be in the Stone Mountain area, and let's see. Why don't we take you to the purchase option here for buy at the DeKalb County Land Bank? And this is another land bank where we're able to take you directly to the property. So you notice 15223. It always helps just to know your parcel number just for sanity's sake. But in this case, we're looking at the exact same property here. It's listed as an opportunity. You can add it to your cart. It's selling it it says available as a tax deed is the program the land bank is using, which is interesting, which means they actually have both plans, deeds and quiet title in um, the DeKalb Land Bank. If you ask me, this is a very high price for the land bank to ask. Sometimes you see that where the land bank is just not a good deal. So in this case, I would probably pass on that property. Very nice property, but if you're looking for discounts, that was not the property for you. This one I'm going to assume is probably the same thing. Let's take a look. It also says tax deed on our site. They want 189,000. This is a better example, actually. So the property county valuation is 254. Our ARV, the after repair value we estimate is 276. Almost $2,000 a month in rent. You can check out our comps right here. Click the View Sales Comps button. There they are. That shows our homework of how we came up to the value. The top green property, there's the subject property. Everything below it are recent sales. We give you the sale date, sale price, all the same kind of standard metrics you would compare: beds, baths, square footage, and acreage, year built. And we even put a percentage match on the right side, so you can, if you want to do your own math on it, feel free. But yeah, this is another one of those that is selling as a tax deed. 189. That's a lot of money, but if this thing truly ARV valued is 300, then it could be a good deal for you. It depends on your budget. But you'll notice here when we click on the purchase page, you can apply and pay 189.1 right there, and that's what you're looking at. It's actually kind of a large lot, 1.74 acres with the house on it. So, again, I'm trying to talk about deals without knowing your strategy, so it's kind of tough to know what you're interested in. So on that note, let's switch over. Let's check out Fulton County. You've probably heard of it. It's 64 properties available, only 14 have structures. Let's view the full 64 first. Okay, looks like you have a chunk around the Georgia Aquarium. Some of these are vacant lots, you can see. Let's check out a vacant lot. Yeah, so there you go. It's nice to next to a nice looking house here. Let's click on the panorama view. So we're talking about this lot right here, and that house is in good shape. You have some trash over here, maybe some building. I don't know what it looks like right now, so this is a good reason to scout. But I see development. I see nicer houses. Looks like an up and coming area potentially. So again, know your market, know your land bank. This could be a good one for you to buy. Let's see, on the Metro Atlanta Land Bank, we are also able to link you directly to the property there. So that's kind of nice. Now, while I'm on this one, let's take a look at, if I click home on their site, what we can do is, I think if we scroll to the bottom, no, we go to, I just like to click around and try to find their programs. And so here's a pretty good one here. Vacant lots by application. Yeah, so it pays to click around and familiarize with the land bank website, understand what their programs are, how to buy. And it can come with time or with some experience from buying there too. But now you have this land bank in front of you. You can spend some time on Fulton if you want. We will. Let's take a look at no, let's do Richmond County. Richmond is Augusta. 421 opportunities there. Let's just take a peek at the first one I click. I'm not even going to filter. So it looks like this lot behind the house, no improvements, so it's going to be vacant land. If we click on the green button, continue to the land bank, this one will get you straight to the property on this one too. That's great. So this is the property listing on their land bank. Yet another place to purchase. And I don't see a bid amount here. I guess they don't publish their bid amount. So this is another one where it's going to pay to look at the programs and understand what's available here, tax abatement, just different things you can buy from. And I'll also tell you, this is a good chance. Sometimes a land bank has programs that you just simply won't qualify for. And what I mean by that is sometimes they have something called like a side lot program or something like a good neighbor program, or maybe it's some type of housing effort by the city or county to help people that can't afford houses, some affordability program. So depending on where you live, your income, a lot of different things, you may not qualify for some of the programs. Um, in general, if we see that in the land bank, if we're filtering and looking at properties, if they publish to us that it's a affordability thing or something that's limited, like to the next door neighbor only, we try not to pull those into the site because we know that only, if it's the next door neighbor, you can only have a couple neighbors that are qualifying to buy it, the adjacent lot. And if it's affordability, a lot of investors won't qualify for affordability either. So we'll filter those out in a land bank inventory if the land bank inventory publishes that information. Okay, so wow, we've covered a lot here. Let's go to Chatham County before we wrap on Georgia. So in Chatham County, we have 136 properties in the land bank. And looking at those, let's take a look at how many have structures. And 4 over-the-counter have structures. And there they are. So let's check out an over-the-counter property in Chatham County. Okay. This is in an opportunity zone. We're looking at a nice looking house that had some construction done. And if we click on the green button, this will take us directly to the property on their site, and we'll see what the opportunity looks like from the land bank. This is through the Dream Maker Neighborhoods program, so you would want to read about what that means. I'm not going to read this to you online or on the video, but they have some great information. There's how-to, but the process, requirements, evaluation, and looking at this one, it's in such good shape. I'm going to go ahead and guess that this might be one of those affordability programs, but if you learn more about what's available here, maybe it's not. Maybe it's something you can buy without having to qualify. So that is the Savannah Land Bank for Chatham County. And lastly, before I leave Georgia here, I was going to show you, we did add the properties last month, 1,335 in November, and promptly 210 were removed. We're tracking those removals weekly. On this particular land bank, we track it a little more frequently than that. And in December, we had 209 new parcels added with 237 removed. So we've already in December, just a week in, seen a lot of churn. So what that tells me is Georgia land banks, they actually are keeping them very up to date. They're not going stale. And I like that because it means new opportunities, and we can get the ones out of your face when they're either been purchased or no longer available. So I think it's going to be a pretty good experience in Georgia going forward. And thank you for listening to all that, because in Georgia, we took a lot of time on it. All right, so Why don't we switch states and talk about Missouri? Okay, so for Missouri, we've tracked over-the-counter inventories there. They're really called the fourth lien sale or post third sales. So a little bit of education on Missouri is they have multiple sales, first, second, and third. But when you get to they call it either post third or fourth sale, which is the next one after number three. These are basically over the counter deeds. Okay, so we went ahead and labeled them deeds because they're even if you're buying a lien, it's basically foreclosed with no redemption at this point. So this is like the dream inventory. You're just essentially buying it. So the reason we're talking about Missouri today is St. Louis in particular. We do have over the counters in Jackson. Is that the name? Yeah, Jackson, Missouri. But in St. Louis, uh, this is a very compelling inventory. There's a lot in it. Let's go ahead and filter by St. Louis so I can tell you what's in it. Whoops. Uh, so in St. Louis, you'll notice that the inventory does not update very often here. The reason is they don't publish it very often at all. It looks like they publish it a couple times a year and let the list go stale. So your first challenge is going to be you're going to be looking at stuff like this, maybe filtering by building. We'll take the top one here. Let's say you saw this and said, hey, you know what? I think this is a great property to buy. The two challenges you're going to have, first of all, is that you will have to talk to the county and make sure, using this instruction right here, go to their OTC purchase page. You're going to need to talk to the county and make sure it's still available. So here's the instructions for that. But secondly, I guess my tip for that is maybe pick 10 properties that you like. Okay, I mean, we have a great search filter here. So pick 10 properties and get ready to purchase, and then ask the county if they're still available. They're literally just selling faster than we can keep track on the internet, because if they only update the list twice a year, but they do sales every day, we don't know. So we're going to show you what their list currently has, and if they're not going to update their list, it's going to go stale. So I just filtered. There's actually a lot in this. There's 970 properties. It's a nice size OTC inventory here. And so when we're looking at it, if we do improvements only, we're down to 300 properties, so a third of it. And there's a lot of upside here. Like I don't know how else to say it. It's if you're snoozing on this one, you may want to pay close attention. We're looking at a brick rental house in my mind right here, potential rental. Okay, so we're talking about this one. And as far as tax deed properties go, first of all, brick can be very appealing. However, I see some roof damage, so you're going to have to put some money into it. But county values it at 39 grand, but the ARV is 78. So we're talking about after repair value potential here on a vacant property. So there shouldn't be an ejectment here. I think if you're buying a vacant property, take possession and follow the local laws, of course, before you do that. But you'll notice the missing piece here is we don't have an amount due. Okay, when St. Louis publishes this list, they do not include the amount. I can actually, yeah, there it is. So this is the list. I don't know how slow this PDF is going. Yeah. So the list literally has no price in it. And since they don't give us a way to download the pricing, we've made a shortcut for you. On any property report here in St. Louis County, and in most counties on our site, we do have research links like this that will help you out. On the right side, you see the St. Louis County links. You can go to the GIS map or the property card. But let's go to the taxes owed report. This took us straight to the property on the taxes owed report and tells us we can get a cumulative amount of what's unpaid. Okay? Why does that matter? Because when you're following these instructions, you're going to have to make a bid at some point. And you need to make sure your bid meets their minimums and essentially gets you a good chance of buying the property so you're not wasting your time. And this is not like an auction type of bid. You're sending in a bid and then they'll decide whether they're going to sell to you or not. It's kind of like an application. So I would use the taxes owed as my starting point to make my bid. It looks like the total tax available, total bill, $673.90. And The only problem is now that I'm looking back, I see multiple years unpaid. So you have to add these together, figure out the ones that are unpaid, what your bid should be. So that's really where you come in, your strategy, your bidding strategy, your property development strategy. What do you want to buy? And work with St. Louis to purchase these. So there are some great, opportunities here. Of course, some of these, not everything's a great opportunity. You might see a house like this and decide, I mean, this one doesn't scare me, but it might scare you. I see a vacant house. That's part of the problem right there is we can move and get this one quickly. If it's vacant, we can probably do some work on it quick. $73,000 ARV, $59,000 county valuation. Let's go to the taxes owed report. And the total unpaid, and we're looking at down here, we'll place our bid somewhere around these amount unpaids. And at that point, we're off to the races trying to buy for the county. And that's where, again, you come in to work with the county and purchase the property. So a couple of thoughts here. If you're talking with the county, my first question when you're building that relationship would be, how are we going to make a deal to the county, make a bid to the county that is appealing enough to win? I want to win my bids. They might say 1 year taxes due, like the 2025 taxes here, 1373. If that's enough to get a minimum bid in, I wouldn't bid any more than that. But if they want all the years, we can look at this block right here, the tax due amounts, and all the years add up to $21,000. That's a great question as you're getting to know the county to find out how to bid and how to increase your chances of winning. Because you're buying over the counter, you're buying direct from the county. There's nothing stopping you from buying any properties that you see that fit your strategy, as long as they're available. So, I just really think this opportunity is something you should pay attention to. I guess I'm beating a dead horse here. However, if you're buying vacant lots, they have plenty of those too. 970 properties. So check out the St. Louis Land Bank. Goodness gracious, not Land Bank. The St. Louis post third sales, where you're basically buying a tax deed on these properties. And I think if you learn this market, you might do really well. So on that note, let's switch over and talk about Arizona. We haven't talked about Arizona recently, but the news here is pretty simple. Maricopa County moved websites, changed their list out, and when they came back and brought the list back online, there were new OTCs in there and old OTCs too. So this green cloud cluster here, those are over-the-counter tax liens. The blue ones are over-the-counter tax deeds, okay? So not a lot to talk about here. If you know Maricopa, helicopter around on our site. And one gotcha here, there are no valuations. The county does not publish them in public data, so the improvements filter is unavailable. But you can still use other filters by acreage, by availability, owner location, things like that if you want to check those out. So Maricopa County, if you're waiting on properties, wait no further. Moving on to Mississippi, they had a big month. Let's see, I had a county picked out here. Let's go to Adams County, but actually let's start over here. This is the over-the-counter inventory tracker. It's available in your tools menu. At the top, if you missed that, it's up here, OTC inventory report. So Mississippi has added 81 new over-the-counter tax deeds in December only. Last month, they added 376, and the month before that, 705. So a big finish to the year for Mississippi. And you might think, it's probably junk land like we talked about earlier. Let's sort by the building value. Right off the top, I have a property that's listed at $94,000 county valuation. Panorama view on this house. Looks, I think, really nice for a tax deed. So basically, county values at 95. Our ARV estimate is 212. You may have some work to do on the property to get it up to 212, but that's some potential there. 1520 estimated rent. And if you want to buy, click the big green button and follow our steps. There are a lot of steps. It's not an easy site to buy from, but we did document the steps for you. And once you learn them, you'll be in good shape to keep buying. It's kind of the same theme I had about the land banks is get to know your purchasing program and things will be easier to buy. especially in Mississippi. I know people that do personal relationships by getting to know who at the state they're emailing. And hey, be courteous, be polite, be professional, and maybe they will want to do more business with you. If you're rude to them, they will not want to do more business with you. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's good life advice overall. So Mississippi, good opportunity going on right now. Just didn't want you to miss that. Let's see. Yeah, so the inventory swelled past 7,000 properties again, so that's good. Now let's take a look at Alabama. Last month we had a lot to talk about in Alabama with the new purchasing program and from Quit Claim It. But this month in December, there are only 3 new properties added so far. It's still pretty early. One of them's from the Birmingham Land Bank. It seems to be the theme of the day is land banks, but this house right here is now available from the land bank. And the last I checked on their programs, they were accepting $5,500 bid. Uh, these land banks, I'm telling you, they change fast. They might change while we're making this video, for all I know. So get to know your land bank programs. If you want to buy this house, just click on the blue button here, and this will take you to that property's application page, just like we've been doing on the other land banks today. I might just title this the land bank video. We keep stumbling across land banks. Okay, so Alabama, just those 3 properties. Last month was a little better. 132 were added. So let's check out now Colorado. And Colorado this is going to be kind of a past tense update. Nothing new in December OTCs. Last month, 138 were added. So if you were looking at Colorado OTC liens, it's like a few of them have already been bought, but 138 were added in November. We'll see if anything gets added in December. Arkansas, we have 7 in December so far, and last month, just 5. So I guess we're kind of that part of the year where there's a trickle of properties, whereas earlier, let's see, in September, there were about 1,400 added. October, 1,470. So it seems like in their general cadence, looks like August through October is when they add the most properties. Now we're adding just a few. Not to be discouraged, though. There's a nice valued property right here, a pretty large structure. Looks like an old school or something. And if we click on Commissioner of State Lands is who's selling this. Here are the instructions to go purchase the property. So this is going to be a very rewarding one. Arkansas is some of the best tax deeds around. Okay, we're going to get into kind of lightning round here. Florida had 2 properties added according to my notes. Let's see. Yeah, these are the 2 properties that were added. This one in Bradford's probably the most notable tax lien. Again, Florida, learn what you're doing. Tax liens there do not get you the property. You'll have to still buy the tax deed later. So if you want a nice interest-bearing investment, then this could be good. It's available in Bradford County. You can click this and go straight to their website to buy. They do not have an online purchase like some counties in Florida, but that's not a reason not to buy. Just learn how to buy. Louisiana is going to be a real quick stop here. We had 1 property added through the New Orleans Redevelopment Authority, which is a lot like a land bank, so sticking with the theme. Similar Michigan, the Wayne County Land Bank had some stuff added. Last month, Saginaw Land Bank, a bunch added. Moving on, we'll talk about Tennessee very briefly here. Nothing added this month yet, but 85 new parcels in Memphis, Shelby County last month, so 85 new opportunities. Let's just talk about the value here. It's top 1. Looks like it's a small structure somewhere on that property, according to the satellite, but structure nonetheless, according to the county. So the only reason I'm doing that is to show you there are things worth buying OTC. Probably you believe me at this point. And this one's a vacant lot, so that's why we look at satellite view, because sometimes they're vacant lots. And the last state we'll talk about in detail here is going to be New York. We had 4 parcels added last month. That's all. Not much going on there. We have multiple land banks there over the counter. And so we're not going to talk about Maryland, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin today. Nothing really happened there worth bringing up. But we'll take this moment. If we click on the home link on Parcel Fair, this is our dashboard, and the top part is personalized to you. This middle section are auctions. The bottom part are the OTCs. So if you ever want to know just who are the largest OTC inventories pretty much by county or land bank, this is how you do it. The left-hand side here are deeds and land banks. The right side are liens. So there you have it. You can check out who has the most. And on that note, we'll end the video. I hope if you have not tried Parcel Fair that you will. We have some big updates coming for 2026. This is one of the last videos we'll do this year, but rest assured we will keep things going. And I really, for me, it's kind of funny this time of year. The site usage goes way down, but you've seen in this video some of the best opportunities have shown up. So maybe if you're watching this, those opportunities are for you, and you'll have fewer people to contend with. With your Parcel Fair subscription, I want to call out you can join our private Facebook group. It's in the Connect menu up top. We also, when you join, we email this to you. So check your inbox or click here. This Facebook group is fantastic. Lots of people in there smarter than me. I learn a lot from them. Some of the questions asked, some of the questions I ask are just great ways to learn from seasoned investors in all the markets across the U.S. Some very ambitious people there, very smart people. So it's a great way to connect. We're doing online meetups. We did 3 this year. You can view those here. They're not on the YouTube channel, but you can always go back and watch them here. Some really deep topics. These are 1 hour each. So the online meetups were basically where we had you guys on a call and interviewed kind of podcast style different people. That Jason Porter, a tax coach, we talked to him early in the year. Then we had special guest Jesse Loomis, CEO of Bid for Assets, and Shannon Bailey from Gov Deals. And then most recently in October, we had Greg Stanley, the attorney from Alabama. We had Atlas members from the Alabama Tax Association on the call. We're going to keep going with those. We have more planned next year. So these are excellent if you want to learn about any of these specific areas. The bottom one here that is an overall view of tax investing, period. Jason did a great job just covering due diligence, quiet titles, title searches, everything. The middle one here, Jesse and Shannon, we talked about acquisition, but we really hit on exit strategies and great creative ways to sell your properties when you buy liens and deeds. And of course, the last meetup in October was all things Alabama with Greg. And on that note, if you like this video, please like it so we'll know to make more of them. And if you like this channel, please subscribe so you can get a little YouTube notification whenever we put a new video out. I'm telling you, some of these videos are timely. You want to beat the crowds to some of these opportunities before they go, especially OTCs. Sometimes you will see something available in the video, and by the time you get there, it's gone because someone got there first. So yeah, I'm thrilled, humbled, and honored this year. It's been a fantastic year. We still have a few weeks left, but just want to throw that in there that you guys are the reason we do this. Our customers are our favorite people, and you guys inspire us. You give us so many ideas and suggestions for the site or finding new auctions and everything like that we maybe places we haven't looked before. And again, very humble, gracious for all of that. And if we don't talk to you till next year, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, Christmas, a new year, anything else you have going on, and take care.